shush. It's time to rest now. Let the day drift behind you. It's like clouds rolling away from the edge of a quiet hill. You're here, and you are safe. Feel the weight of the bed beneath you, the softness of the pillow under your cheek, the comfort of knowing that nothing is expected of you right now. Let your shoulders melt, let your jaw loosen. Let your thoughts soften like candle wax warmed by a gentle flame. You've done enough today. All that remains is rest. Feel the air brushing across your skin, cool and calm. You may imagine a slow breeze slipping in through a slightly open window, rustling the corners of thin curtains, carrying with it the scent of pine and a hint of wax and wood smoke. Somewhere nearby, you hear the subtle tick, tick, tick of an old clock, each beat measured, each moment like a footstep into deeper rest. Tick, tick. Let's float with it now. Get into the story. Our story today begins in a small attic room, nestled above a quiet cobblestone street in Geneva, sometime around the year 1839. The air is still. A low fire glows inside a cast-iron stove, faintly crackling now and then. Its warmth doesn't quite reach the corners of the room, where shadows linger against wooden beams and dusty bookshelves. A single candle burns on the workbench. Its flame dances slowly, steady, but faint. Its wax puddles at the base, forming the last ring of what used to be a much taller candle. One more hour, maybe less, and the flame will go out. For now, it burns. At the bench sits a man with round glasses perched on the edge of his nose. His name is Antony Patek. He's hunched over a watch case, delicately turning a sliver of brass with tweezers no wider than a sewing needle. The room is filled with the tiny, invisible sounds of craftsmanship, the sigh of fingers on polished wood, the soft clink of a cogwheel dropped into place, the creak of a leather strap under shifting elbows. Antony is tired. He's worked all day, and many days before this one. But he doesn't stop, because this is the last design he will ever make alone. Tomorrow, he is to meet a man named Patek Philippe, a man who's invented a winding mechanism unlike anything else in Europe, a man who could be the key to saving Antony's faltering company. And so, in the quietest hour of the night, Antony leans close to the flickering light, making sure every wheel aligns, every spring breathes evenly. He murmurs to himself in polished language he's carried with him from a homeland torn apart by war. He was once a soldier, you know. Long ago, Antony had marched in freezing boots, slept in the forests of Eastern Europe, felt the weight of exile in his bones. He fought in the November uprising against the Russian Empire when Poland was gasping for freedom. But now, he fights time, literally. He shapes it, holds it, binds it into wrist-sized cases with tiny hands and tired eyes. His candles are shorter now, but his dreams still long. Listen to the slow rhythm of his breath, the way it mirrors yours. Now, slow in and slower out. Inhale a little deeper and exhale, letting go of the day completely, okay? You may picture the room with a little more clarity now. An old window pane, frosted at the corners. Beyond it, snow flurries fall in slow spirals, gathering along stone windowsills and crooked roofs. The whole city of Geneva is sleeping, except for one man and one candle. Antony pauses, rubbing his fingertips together for warmth. He dips a steel bridge into oil just a touch and lowers it into the tiny clockwork. And now, let me tell you something you might not know. This watch, the one he's building tonight, is not for sale. It's not for royalty or rich merchants. It's for himself. It's not as a gift, but as proof. It's a token to show Philippe that Antony is not just another factory boss. He's a craftsman, a soldier, a dreamer of precise dreams. If this watch beats cleanly by morning, the partnership will begin. And Patek Philippe, the one whose watches now cost millions, will be born. But for now, it's just a dream. And a candle. Tick, tick, tick. Can you hear it? A gentle rhythm. Like footsteps walking into a dream. As the wind hums outside the shutters, and Tony works, and you drift, the soft warmth of his candlelight, with the slow pull of history's gentle current. Tick, tick. The clock on the far wall is old, made not by Antony, but by a Swiss apprentice long ago, long before his time. It's the kind of clock that breathes softly with the house, that murmurs to you like a lullaby, reminding you gently, you are still here. Time still moves, and everything slowly finds its rhythm again. And now, as you lie still, your breath flows gently in time with that quiet ticking. The candle flickers slightly. A faint draft has wandered in from under the door, brushing along the wooden floor like the tail of a sleeping cat. It kisses the edge of Antony's coat, but he doesn't look up. His hands remain steady, like they always do when they find peace and precision. He lifts a hair-thin pinion from its velvet cloth and holds it up against the flame, inspecting it, turning it, a small, sharp glint of brass in the amber glow. In moments like these, when the world outside is still, and your hands are doing the work they were born to do, time doesn't just pass, it flows through you. Antony once said, though only to himself, God may measure eternity, but I measure 1 second at a time. He didn't always want to be a watchmaker. Not really. There was a time he believed he'd grow old in the green hills of Pi, a place with soft meadows and sleepy stables, where time was told by roosters, not watches. But war has a way of changing what you measure. Suddenly, seconds mattered. A late decision, a breath too soon, a heartbeat out of sync. It could mean everything. And so, when the fighting ended and exile began, Antony did not try to farm. He did not take up the pen. He found a magnifying glass and a gear and a tiny spring, and began to teach himself how to hold time in his palm. And now, so many years later, in this attic filled with sawdust and frost, he's crafting one last piece to show that his hands never forgot. Let yourself imagine his breath now, slow and visible in the cold air, curling like a ribbon above the candle. There is silence, except for two things: the gentle chat of metal brushing metal, and that patient clock on the wall, still ticking. Tick, kick. And maybe you begin to wonder now, what makes a watch worth so much? Is it the gold, the name on the face, or perhaps it's the hours of silence poured into it? It's the long nights, like this one, where a candle burns down just to see a balance wheel breathe perfectly. Antony adjusts the escapement. A soft click. The gears rotate. It's just a little. He leans in close and listens not with his ears, but with his heart, to feel if the beat is even, if it is alive. This moment, this quiet inspection, this is the soul of the watchmaker. And while you listen, while you rest here in this soft moment, you are a part of it too, because time, you see, is not just a line, it's a circle. It comes back around. You're hearing the story now, and Antony setting his gears right then. You're meeting gently across the years. The candle crackles. Its wick has curled slightly, giving the flame a soft, golden shiver. He has maybe 20 minutes left. Outside, the snow has thickened. Heat mutes the world like a wool blanket, pressing gently on rooftops, carriages, trees. You can picture it, calm. How the flakes fall silently into the street below, how the city disappears under white. The world becomes softer, slower, quieter, and in this cocoon of stillness, Antony holds time in his hands, and you hold calm in your breath, in and out. The story is still just beginning. The meeting with Philippe, the rise of a legacy. It hasn't happened yet, but tonight, it's one candlelit night. This is the heartbeat that will make it all possible. The last light before the dawn of something bigger. Tick, tick, tick. Let the sound of the ticking fade into your breath. Let the rhythm guide you like a thread of gold, stitching a dream together, soft and smooth, measured and warm. We are still with Antony, still in the attic, still wrapped in the hush of winter and work. And now he stands, not quickly, not with a jolt, but slowly. It's like a thought forming in the corner of the mind. He walks across the room wooden floor, creaking faintly beneath his boots. He opens a small drawer, revealing a cloth bundle wrapped tightly with twine. He unties it carefully, layer by layer, revealing something delicate inside, an engraving tool passed down to him from a fellow exile. The man who gave it to him had once etched holy verses onto spoons. Now Antony uses it for bridges and balance cocks, to leave small, nearly invisible marks, a signature of sorts, not of vanity, but of purpose. He returns to his bench. Before beginning the engraving, he does something simple, something so human. He closes his eyes, just for a breath, a quiet inhale, still moment of gratitude, as if whispering, "Thank you, time, for letting me be here to shape you." Then, with hand steady and breath slow, he begins. Each line he carves into the metal is no wider than a strand of hair, but they sing with meaning. His initials, a tiny 1839, and a small cross his father's design from a long-lost signet ring. No one will see it. No customer. No client. Perhaps not even Philippe. Antony knows. That truth lives in the parts unseen. And as you lie here now, safe and still, that thought may settle into your mind, too. That some of our greatest acts were quiet, hidden, tucked into corners of the world where no spotlight ever shines. The candle has burned lower now. Space is soft and molten, and the wick leans slightly toward the right. Its flame shrinks, then flares again, feeding one last time on what remains. Tick, tick, tick. Antony glances at the tall clock once more. It's nearly midnight. His eyes, though tired, are calm. In the corner of the room is a wooden box, scuffed and dented, with an iron latch. He opens it, revealing dozens of tiny watch parts, organized not by type, but by tone. You see, Antony doesn't sort by shape. He listens. A balance wheel that clicks too sharply goes to one side. A bridge that rings too softly another. Everything he makes must sing the right harmony. He hums now, a polished lullaby. Something from his mother's voice, a song of nightfall and stars and home. It isn't a song with words, not anymore, but you can imagine it just the same. Something soft, something slow, a melody that winds its way through lamplight and time, resting gently on your chest like a wool blanket. There's a knock, not loud, just once. Connie freezes, then turns toward the door. He hadn't expected anyone not at this hour. The city sleeps. He moves to the door and opens it halfway. There, bundled in a coat far too large for his frame, stands a boy, red-cheeked, holding a folded note in gloved hands. Connie takes it and nods kindly, wordlessly. The boy smiles, then vanishes back into the snow. The letter is from Philippe, a quiet apology for the early hour, and a single line added in scrawled ink. I'm awake too. Tomorrow begins sooner than we think. And Tony smiles just a little and closes the door. The candle flickers again. Its final curve is near. He returns to the bench, and now the most sacred part begins. The winding. Not all watches can hold a wind well. Too tight, and the spring may snap. Too loose, and it won't hold time at all. And Tony gently places the winding stem and turns. Click, click, click. With each motion, the gears catch one another. Energy flows. Its balance begins to spin. And now, in the hush of this attic, the watch begins to breathe. Tick, tick, tick. Not from the wall this time, but from the tiny circle of brass and steel resting beneath his fingers. It is alive, and as it beats, your breath finds it again. Inhale, exhale. You are safe. You are floating. You are listening to a miracle made small. places the completed watch inside a velvet pouch and lays it gently near the edge of the desk. Then, at last, he leans back. The candle lets out a final stretch of flame, a tiny yawn, and fades. Darkness, but not silence, because the watch still ticks. And time goes on. The attic is dark now, but it isn't cold, 'cause something has shifted. In the black stillness, the faintest hint of blue seeps through the windowpane morning light. Slow and quiet, touching the frost with its silvery fingers. The city is still sleeping, but somewhere beneath warm blankets, people are beginning to stir. A baker lights a fire. A horse snorts into its feed. And in the attic above the shop, Antoni Patek opens his eyes, not all at once, not with a start, but the way old watch hands wake, gently, from 12 to 1. He had fallen asleep in his chair, hands folded, head tilted slightly toward the bench where the finished watch still rests in its velvet pouch. For a moment, he forgets. Again, he sees it and smiles. The candle is nothing now, a puddle of wax. A dark wick curled into itself like a question that's already been answered. He rises. The air is sharp and clean, as if it too has been renewed. He dresses brushing lint from his coat, running a cloth along his glasses and, then, with careful fingers, he lifts the velvet pouch and slips it into his breast pocket. He doesn't hurry. There's a peace in knowing the work is already done. That time has already been measured, shaped, and offered forward. Outside, snow covers the street in soft mounds. Boot prints from the night before have already faded. Carriage wheels leave slow tracks. Even the crows are quieter this morning. Antoni walks slowly. He knows the way. The shop where he's agreed to meet Patek Philippe is small and narrow, tucked between a linen cellar and a pastry window. Its shutters are open and a copper bell dangles from the doorframe, unmoving. Antoni steps inside, and there, seated at a work table beneath the light of 3 clean oil lamps, is the man who will change everything. Adrian is younger, his hair is lighter, and his eyes are but kind glance up and immediately meet Antoni's with the understanding of someone who also dreams in gears and teeth and springs. They nod. No words yet. No need. Time recognizes time. Adrian gestures to a chair, and Antoni sits. There is tea on the table already poured. Steam rises slowly from the surface, catching the morning light. It smells like sage and something faintly citrus. They sit in silence for a moment longer. 2 men, 2 minds, a soft click of an old drawer somewhere in the back of the shop. Finally, Adrian reaches into a small box and lifts out his invention, a crown-winding mechanism. It looks simple, elegant, unassuming, but Antoni knows this tiny adjustment could change everything. No key, no pen, it's the twist of the stem and the watch breathes. Adrian places it on the table, says only one word, try, K. And so Antoni does. He picks up the case, feels its weight, turns the stem, click, click, click. A balance wheel spins inside, its rhythm already perfect. The tea has cooled slightly. Antoni sets the piece down, then reaches into his own coat pocket. He takes out the pouch, unwraps it, places the freshly finished watch onto the wood between them, and for the first time, Adrian smiles. Not just with his mouth, but with his whole being, as if he, too, has waited through long nights, and now sees a light at the end of them. Beautiful, he says. It is the first word either of them has spoken aloud today, but it is enough. The shop is quiet. Even the wind outside seems to hush. They sip the tea. The pact is not yet written, but it is already sealed. 2 makers, 2 flames, 1 company that will outlive them both. And you, dear listener, you are still with them, here in this room, wrapped in the warmth of precision. Okay. floating gently in the pause between invention and legacy. Let your breath settle again. Inhale, exhale. Let yourself sink deeper now as the world slowly awakens. Because what comes next is not noise, not celebration, but steady work. 1,000 small movements, 1,000 quiet ticks. And the candle that once burned in a snow-covered attic has become a light in history's window. Time does not shout. It drifts, soft as dust on old velvet, steady as snow falling on rooftops. It's patient, like the hands of a watch, slowly sweeping circles, again and again and again. We find ourselves now still drifting gently several months later. The attic is the same, but there are more candles now. A second chair by the workbench, to teacups, not one. Philippe visits often, not to take over, not to instruct, but to sit, to build, to breathe quietly beside Antony as they work in harmony. No arguments, no clatter, only murmured adjustments, and the soft lull of time being shaped again. Outside, Geneva bustles. The seasons have turned. Chimneys now puff gently again, and tulips bloom in window boxes across the city. But in this room, it is always calm. The watches they built now carry both names, Patek, etc. Still simple, still small, but they're growing. One day, a velvet-lined crate arrives at the door. Inside, a request from a queen. Queen Victoria herself. She's heard of the winding mechanism, heard of the precision, wants something delicate elegance, something that ticks with dignity. Antony and Adrienne sit in silence for a long moment. Then they begin. Let's pause here. Let your breath fall gently in time with the ticking again. Inhale, exhale, tick, tick. Imagine a night not unlike the one we began with. But this time, there are 2 candles, 2 benches, 2 minds, and together they sketch. Not loudly, no scratching pens or grand announcements. Just a whisper of graphite on paper, curves traced slowly like moonlight across the edge of a lake. Ashe. They designed something fit for royalty, built with the same care they gave to the attic's very first candlelit piece. Because every piece, whether worn by a queen or a baker, holds the same heartbeat, the same rhythm. They inscribe initials, tiny, hidden, just like before, for pride, but for remembrance. And this is the quiet power of invention, to make something so small, still, yet capable of holding centuries inside it. You're breathing slower now. That's good. Let yourself drift again. The story continues. 10 years have passed. The name has changed. Now it is Patek Philippe, and in the valleys of Switzerland, people whisper of the firm that makes watches which never stop, even after lifetimes. Antony is older. His hair is silvered, but his hands still steady. He works less now, but often, in the late evenings, he returns to the attic, just to sit, to remember. Sometimes he doesn't light a candle. He simply closes his eyes and listens to the quiet ticking. Watches hung on the wall, one for each year. Each piece still alive, each one holding a night's worth of dreams inside. He touches one gently, and it chimes, not loudly, just once. It's a tiny, silvery note. You can still hear it echoing, even now. Through time, through history, through your breath, rising and falling like the rhythm of a winding spring. There is something else in the room now. A letter from a man in Paris. He owns a shop. He wants to place a large order, enough to change everything. But Antony smiles and does not rush, because he knows what's built slowly lasts. What's shaped gently holds meaning, and what begins in silence echoes the longest. The attic grows quieter again, but the world beyond grows brighter. More people are wearing their pieces now. Princes, engineers, explorers, and still, every watch starts the same way. Tick, 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 and quiet. Just like this moment. Just like you, lying there, now still and safe. Let it settle into you. Let it hum in your chest, low and sweet. You are part of this too. Part of a thread that stretches through fingers, through dreams, through time itself. Close your eyes a little deeper now. Feel the air around you soften. Feel the story settle into stillness. We'll pause here, but the next chapter is waiting. Breathe in. Let the weight of sleep pull just a little heavier, like velvet over your shoulders. It's like fog over a quiet lake. We drift now to a new time, but still the same story, still the same rhythm. Decades have passed. The world has changed. The cities swell with railways. Factories hum. Telegraph lines crisscross the landscape like thin spider webs strung between trees. The air, in many places, is no longer still. But inside the walls of Patek Philippe, the pace remains slow, precise, soft. Inside their Geneva workshop now, larger. Though still lit with warm lamps, each watch is still born with silence. Each begins not on a production line, but at a desk where a craftsman still listens to the sound of each spring, each bridge, each faint metallic breath. And Tony is no longer here. He has passed peacefully many years ago. A letter on his desk, a candle on his windowsill. Final sketch left unfinished but not forgotten. But his rhythm remains. His benches still stand. And his spirit, measured and quiet, lives in every tick. Audrey continues to work, carries the flame gently, the way you carry a sleeping child. He insists on one rule. Every craftsman must work in quiet. No hammers, no shouting, only soft brushes, small files, and clocks that whisper. Even when orders come in from faraway lands, from India, from America, from Brazil, the workshop refuses to rush. Each piece still takes months, sometimes longer, because beauty, they believe, is not found in speed. It's found in patience, and in the care you can feel with your fingertips. Let your own breath slow now, in harmony. You're part of this rhythm too. Inhale, hold for a moment, and exhale like a gear letting go. Now, picture a train station in Budapest. Steam rolls in thick puffs across the cobblestone platform. Horses whinny as children wave handkerchiefs. And there, stepping down from a compartment, is a man wearing a pocket watch, its case engraved, its hands curved like the spine of a swan. It clicks once every second, a gentle reassurance that he is exactly where he is meant to be. That watch was made in Geneva, by hands that worked in silence, with the candle glowing just beyond the windowsill. Now imagine a young woman in Vienna. She tucks a gold-cased watch into her clutch before a performance. The orchestra warms up with scattered notes, but she listens only to her own timepiece, a gift from her grandmother. She winds it slowly, once, twice. Click. She whispers a memory to herself and walks onto stage. Time travels with us, quietly, through hands, through heartbeats, through years. And you, as you drift here in this moment, you carry it too, not as pressure, but as rhythm, as stillness, as the promise that everything happens in its time. Let's drift now, for just a moment, back to the workshop. The new apprentices are careful, their hair tucked neatly, their voices lowered, their tools polished each morning, then wrapped at night in soft cloths like sleeping instruments. One of them lingers after hours. She's working on a minute repeater, a rare, complex piece. It chimes the time softly. First the hour, then the quarter hour, then the minute. You pass exhibits showing the birth of timekeeping, from sundials to tower bells, the candle clocks once used in Chinese palaces. Each invention a quiet promise. I will help you measure the day, and yet it is not the measuring that matters. It is what you feel in the space between the measures, the pause, the waiting, the breath. You stop again, another display, a name engraved in brass, Patek Philippe. Beside it, a quote behind frosted glass. You never actually own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation. You let those words settle into your chest. They're not just about watches. They're about stories and time and memory. We drift now beyond the museum to a modern watchmaking studio, still in Geneva, still lit with lamps, still quiet, though the world outside spins fast. This room resists. There are laptops now, yes, and precise lasers, but the benches still look like Antoni's, still worn at the edge where a wrist rests, still lined with tools that don't hum, they whisper. One of the craftsmen here wears magnifiers over his eyes. He's inspecting a gear no wider than a grain of rice. He adjusts it with tweezers that tremble slightly from care. Behind him, a girl new to the craft is oiling the escapement of her first movement. Her hands shake just barely where she breathes, and it helps. Inhale, hold, release. The escapement is a miracle. It is the heartbeat, the tick. It releases energy in perfect rhythm, one beat at a time, just like you, just like now. Tick, tick, tick. Outside, in the modern world, people race for time. They feel it, stretch it, try to bend it. But here, they listen to it. The old candle that Antoni once lit may be gone, but the flame has passed from wrist to wrist, bench to bench, breath to breath. The idea remains. Time is not just something you count, something you keep, and sometimes you pass it on. And here, inside your chest, that idea glows too. As we end this part of the story, notice how your shoulders feel, lighter, lower, how your breathing comes slower, like the swinging of a balance wheel. Let it lower you, let it hold you. And in the next chapter, we'll visit a family, 3 generations bound by the same watch, and we'll see how time in its gentlest form can heal. Let your breath rise and fall like the pull of a pendulum. Back and forth, back and forth. Now imagine a house, not grand, but warm. Its walls are lined with books, photo frames, and shelves of tiny clocks, not ticking loudly, but just enough. A soft tick from the hallway, a faint tick from the kitchen, and the gentle shuffle of slippers on wooden floors. It's morning, and light spills through linen curtains, pale and golden. Outside, there is snow, soft and unhurried. Inside, a grandfather, Joseph, sits in his chair. On his wrist, the very same watch Antoni made, passed down through quiet generations. He winds it every morning, not because it needs it, but because it centers him. A ritual, a greeting, as he turns the tiny crown. The mainspring coils like a breath drawn in, ready, poised, still ticking. He whispers, smiling. He looks at the photo beside him, his daughter, Maria, and her son, Elliot. 3 lives, 1 timepiece. Later that day, Maria visits. She brings soup and stories that her son, Elliot, trails behind. Curious, quiet. He doesn't yet understand the weight of time, okay? But he loves the sound it makes. Joseph takes off the watch. Want to see something magical? He asks. Elliot nods. The watch is placed in his small hand. He holds it to his ear. Tick, tick. It sounds like a little heartbeat, Elliot says. Joseph smiles. It's because it is. Maria watches them. Her eyes hold a kind of softness. She grew up listening to that sound too, falling asleep to its rhythm in the quiet of her childhood room. Sometimes, when she couldn't sleep, she'd rest the watch on her pillow, letting its pulse carry her inward, like a lullaby made of seconds. Joseph takes Elliot's hand and helps him trace the hands of the dial. This one here, he says, is always moving forward, even when we don't notice, even when we're still. Elliot tilts his head. Okay, but if it's always moving, do we ever catch up to it? No. Joseph chuckles, but we walk alongside it. That's all we're ever doing. The room falls quiet. You can almost hear the snow landing outside. Each flake its own brief moment, melting into the now. Later, when Joseph naps in his chair, Maria finds the watch on the table. She picks it up, runs her thumb gently over the case. She thinks of how many times she's seen it on his wrist, at her recitals, on the day her mother passed, on the morning Elliot was born. The watch has seen all of it, and said nothing, only ticked. Each tone is tuned like a bell in a chapel. She adjusts a hammer spring, breath held. Listens, click, tick, ding dot. She smiles, 'cause it sings. And though she'll never know Antoni personally, she thinks of him when she works, his name engraved in the ledgers, his sketches still studied by candlelight. The watchmaker's last candle may have burned out, but its warmth still glows. It glows in Paris, in Cairo, in Shanghai, and here, too, inside your breath. Inside this stillness, let yourself feel it now. That hush between seconds, that pause between stories. It's not empty, it's full of meaning. We'll stop here for now. The next chapter will carry us into the modern world and show how a candlelit invention still teaches us how to slow down and listen. Breathe in again. Feel the chest rise, hold, and slowly release. Feel the tension melt like wax beneath a match. We are not in the 1800s anymore. We are here where lights blink without end, where voices are streamed, where time is spoken aloud by artificial assistants. And yet, in a museum's quiet alcove in Geneva, a group of students gather around a glass case. Inside it lies a watch, gold, small, still ticking. It does not beep, it does not glow, but it moves, a soft, sweeping motion. Its second hand glides, never jerks. Its dial, still hand-painted. Its case, still warm with age. They watch it for a while, although no one says it. Each feels it, a kind of reverence, like stepping into a chapel. It's like hearing silence for the first time in weeks. Time feels different when it is made by hands. Let's walk now through the halls of this museum. Let your footsteps echo lightly over marble. The scent of old books and leather watch straps lingers. She fastens it around her own wrist. For a moment, time feels like a hug. Elliot peers around the corner. Mom, is it yours now? Maria nods. Just for a little while. Elliot smiles, already knowing in his bones that one day it'll be his turn. Let the warmth of that moment hold you now. Breathe in and feel the calm of something steady, something shared, something small but full of forever. As we close this part, drift into the rhythm of legacy, of hands passing hands, of quiet memories sealed in gears and springs. And in the next chapter, we'll find ourselves back with Antoni, but not in his workshop. No, in a dream he once had of building a clock so perfect it didn't just keep time, it made you forget it altogether. Close your eyes now and follow me, not to a room, not to a cottage, but into a dream, a quiet one, tear, one stitched together by candlelight, memory, and the hum of forgotten stars. This is Antoni's dream. In it, he is not old nor young, just timeless. He walks barefoot through a room that isn't really a room. It has no walls, only air, shimmering, soft, and full of ticking things. Clocks float in the air, but none look ordinary. One is shaped like a spiral shell, its hands circling inward instead of out. Another is a slow-turning orb, its surface like a moon spot and glowing. Tiny shadows march across it, like ants tracing time. And then, in the center of the dream, is the great one, the clock of forgetting. It is not large, but it hums like a cathedral. Delicate arms sweep over it, not to show you the time, but to make you let go of it. When Antoni stands before it, his shoulders drop, his breath slows. For in this place, there is no before, no after, only now. He steps forward, and his hand, trembling slightly, reaches toward the mechanism. It responds, not with sound, but with sensation. A memory rises in him, not one he recognizes, A boy running barefoot through grass. Laughter echoing from the hills. A voice calling in a language that feels like sunlight. And a feeling. A pure, golden kind of joy. Not his memory. Not exactly. But the clock offers it anyway. Gift. And then it gives another. And another. A woman lighting a lamp in a stone cottage. An elder wrapping a watch in cloth and placing it in a carved box. A child tracing stars on the ceiling, whispering the names of constellations only they remember. None of it belongs to Antony, and yet all of it does. He weeps, but not with sadness. Only awe. In this clock's presence, you remember all the lives you never lived, and you carry them with you. When Antony wakes from this dream, he doesn't rush to write it down. Instead, he lights his last candle. It flickers softly beside him, its flame familiar. He nods. Somewhere, the clock still ticks. Let your breath grow quieter now, like the hush of candle smoke curling upward. You're safe here, in the space between memory and invention. Okay, and next, we'll return to Elliot years later when he discovers Antony's final plans hidden inside the watch itself, folded like a secret waiting to be opened. Let's find out what the watch was really built to do. Not just mark time, but carry a message across generations. Our story gently picks up again. Years have passed. Elliot, now a young man with hands that mirror his grandfather's steady, calloused, yet kind, sits at the very same desk where Antony once kept his candle burning. The house hasn't changed much. The windows still sing when the wind dances past, and the wooden floor still creaks as if remembering each footstep it ever held. But there's something new today. A soft knock in his mind. It's an invitation. It's a pocket watch long, since tucked away, had always puzzled Elliot. He had studied its every piece, measured its workings, even recreated parts of it in brass and paper. Yet there was something deeper inside, like a secret chamber he had never dared open until now. Outside, clouds part to reveal a pale moon, the same moon that watched over Antony. Inside, Elliot lays the watch down on a square of dark velvet. He breathes in, exhales slowly. His fingers glide along its edge, not just to open it, but to listen. He presses gently at the seam between the watch's to backplates. Click. It wasn't loud. It wasn't sharp. But it was a different kind of click. One no mechanism made. It was like a sigh. Like something old saying, yes, ... Finally, the back lifts. And there, folded impossibly thin, like a prayer tucked into a wall, is a tiny parchment. Not aged, not yellowed fresh, untouched by time. Its ink smells faintly of lavender and old fire. Elliot unfolds it. The message inside is handwritten in Antony's unmistakable scrawl. But it's not a letter. It's a blueprint. Not of a timepiece, but of something that looks like a circle of brass, layered with crystal panes, and at its heart a revolving chamber that seems to tilt, not spin, not tick, but tilt, as though responding to gravity, thought, or even emotion. It is labeled the heart gear, a final invention, one Antony never built, one he left behind for Elliot alone. Beneath the diagram, a line of text. Time isn't measured by hands, my boy. It's held by heartbeats. This one is yours now. Elliot runs his fingers over the parchment. A tingling warmth hums up through his wrist. And in that moment, he knows this blueprint was not meant to be studied. It was meant to be felt. He closes his eyes. For the first time, he hears it, not ticking, but calling. Let your shoulders soften, your breath melt into a gentle rhythm. We are nearly there now, but one more part awaits. Kadi, by dreams and memory, begins to build the heart gear. What happens when it starts to move? Let the quiet wrap around you like a woolen shawl. Let your breath drift slower. And let's return once more in to the soft glow of our story. Our story gently continues. The attic workshop, smelled of dust, pine, and patience. Elliot had cleared the bench, spread out the blueprint, and arranged the old tools beside it, many of them still with Antoni's worn grip pressed into their wooden handles. Light from the oil lamp glowed softly across the parchment, giving it the warmth of candlelight. He worked silently, not with the urgency of invention, but the reverence of restoration. Each gear, each pane, each spiral of crystal seemed to hum as it took its place. Some pieces were made by hand, others simply appeared, not out of thin air, but as though they had always been meant to be, there waiting for his hands to find them. He forged the brass ring first, then the chamber, a gyroscope suspended in near weightless balance. Cana, the crystal lenses slid into their sockets like eyelids blinking open. Cana, and at the center he placed the tiniest coil spring, wrapped not with tension, but stillness, as though it held not energy, but memory. The heart gear was nearly complete, but the final step was not mechanical. It was ... surrender. The instructions said simply, hold it, breathe, let it remember you. So he did. He held it between his palms, eyes closed, heart open, ticking. No movement, just a pull like gravity, but not from the earth. It came from inside, from the hush between his thoughts, from the space where longing and peace coexist. The heart gear tilted, a single, slow motion, like a nod from the past, and then a glow, not bright, not warm, but clear, like starlight on glass. It pulsed gently, once, twice, and then fell into rhythm with his breath. Elliot wasn't surprised. Somehow, he'd known. This wasn't a clock. It wasn't a time machine. It was a resonator. A vessel that remembered the shape of love, the echo of goodbyes, and the way stories looped back into themselves. The attic faded from his awareness. He saw, not with eyes, but with memory. He saw Antoni in the garden, placing his first candle on the sill. He saw his mother, holding baby Elliot, rocking him to sleep beside the hearth. He saw the countless faces of the village, laughing, grieving, aging, each one held gently by time and by this device. And then he saw a future, a child not yet born, holding the heart gear with wonder. Elliot's voice whispered in that vision. We dainty measure time to keep it. We measure it ... to remember. The vision dimmed, the attic returned, and Elliot sat, quiet, changed. Let your hands feel heavy now. Let your jaw unclench. You are floating with Elliot between the breath of time and the stillness of memory. Only one final part remains, where the heart gear's true purpose is revealed, and the last candle is lit. Our story draws near its end. The next morning, Elliot didn't rush. The heart gear lay in his coat pocket, weightless, though its presence tingled like static against his ribs. The village moved slowly. Fog hung low, curling around cobblestones like a shawl around the shoulders of the earth. He walked down the winding path to the square, passing shuttered windows and flower boxes still wet with dew. The familiar chiming of morning bells never came. Instead, the silence felt sacred, like the whole town held its breath in shared anticipation. The tower loomed above. The great clock face stood still, hands frozen at 12 o'clock. Elliot entered. The interior was darker than he remembered, but smelled the same. Iron and old oil, a hint of lavender, tucked somewhere, left long ago. He ascended the spiral staircase, each step a whisper of past generations beneath his boots. At the top, he saw the space where the mechanism had once been, the enormous brass engine Antoni had built by hand. All of it dismantled now, save for a single empty socket where the heart gear belonged. Elliot paused. He took the heart gear from his pocket. It pulsed once. No ticking, just knowing. He placed it carefully in the center. And as soon as it touched the gears, a wave of stillness rolled outward like the hush before a snowfall, when the world forgets to speak. The gears didn't turn. The hands didn't move. But something shifted. Outside, in the square, the wind changed. Not faster, nor colder just more aware. And then, one by one, windows opened. Lanterns flickered a light on their own. Chimes rang with no wind to stir them. And Elliot heard, faint at first, then swelling voices, laughter, whispers, songs remembered, things once forgotten. The heart gear had not been made to control time. It had been made to preserve what mattered between the moments: love, grief, memory, joy. It had become a keeper, not of seconds, but a soul. And as the villagers stepped outside, drawn by the unseen pull of something eternal and gentle, Elliot turned and descended the tower. He did not speak. He didn't need to. They saw it in his eyes, in the calm of his breath, in the faint glow that seemed to follow him like candlelight. And then, without instruction, each home, each shop, each window was graced with a single, small candle, wax white, wick untouched, base engraved with one simple word. Remember? That night, no one slept early. They told stories. They lit their candles. And when the last match struck, a warm glow filled the village like a heartbeat, not loud, not fast, but constant. And in a small attic, Elliot sat by his workbench, a mug of tea cooling beside him, the heart gear gently humming behind the walls. He picked up a fresh journal. He dipped his pen, and he wrote the final line. Time never stopped. It simply waited until we were ready to listen. Now, let your body become weightless, as if the candlelight of the village has floated its way into your dreams. The watchmaker's last candle still glows, and it always will, whenever you choose to remember. Sleep gently now, and drift